Marvel Rivals has surprisingly become one of my favorite games when it comes to free-to-play games. But like any other video game, it has its issues. And I wanted to point out what I believe are some of the main issues of this game currently. I think by far the biggest one is that there's just way too many DPS characters in this game. This game has a clear overabundance of DPS characters, which I think naturally will pull new players towards that role instead of the other two, Strategist and Vanguard. I understand that DPS most likely keeps player engagement fairly high, and it probably actually drives in-game purchases a lot more, but I think it would be a wise choice for NetEase to rebalance this, since I think in the long run it will actually start to damage their overall ecosystem. Right now, as I'm speaking, there are 9 tanks, 7 healers, and 20 DPS characters. Brother, there are more DPS characters than healers and tanks combined. That is insane. I think to address this, the game definitely needs more engaging tanks and support heroes to encourage players to diversify their role choices. In most PvP match, I often have to fill the tank role simply because no one else wants to play it. And this actually highlights another major issue, which is actually my second major issue with this game, the tank problem. Right now, there are only 2 truly reliable solo tanks, at least in my view, which is Magneto and Doctor Strange. I've heard a lot of people also arguing that Groot can be viable, and it definitely can. I just feel like Groot is a much more tougher character to master or to even play good with when compared to Magneto and Strange. But regardless, if you try to solo tank with the vast majority of the tanks right now in the game, you'll likely feel pressure to either switch or rely on a second tank to be more effective, which is normal. You know, like characters like Thor, Captain America, or Hulk are supposed to be somewhat tank divers, getting into the enemy team, gaining positions, destabilizing the backline. But the problem with this is that they leave your backline completely exposed, and they honestly offer a very limited amount of support a lot of the times. What makes Magneto and Doctor Strange stand out from the crowd, I think it's 2 major things. It's survivability, especially with the shields, and then the fact that they have ranged attacks, which allows them to protect and support the backline much better than any other tank in the game right now. I think I understand why NetEase might want to limit these types of like backbone tanks. If we have too many of them, it could shift the meta towards a probably more boring range dominated playstyle. And honestly, fighting against characters like Squirrel Girl or Hawkeye can already be really frustrating, at least in my view. But I gotta be real, I actually play tank a fairly good amount, and playing with both of these characters is not really that fun, especially Magneto. Magneto is probably right now one of the most boring characters to play with. And to be honest, just trying to like brainstorm a solution for this was quite hard for me. I do like some of these characters that feel like they are hybrid between roles, like Mr. Fantastic. He is a DPS character mainly, but he does feel a bit bulky. And so in that sense, he's kind of somewhat like a tank. And so maybe if NetEase explores these types of themes of having one character that can function as a hybrid character, it could absolutely open for different types of compositions for the team while keeping characters fun to play and that can actually support the team a little bit more. And talking about support, another issue that I have, healers suffer from a complete lack of ultimate variety. 4 of these characters have effectively the same core effect, with minor differences here and there. I'm obviously talking about Mantis, Luna, Invisible Woman, and Cloak and Dagger. They all have this sort of burst of healing that basically makes everyone invincible, with some minor differences here and there. The only distinct ultimates that we really have right now are Loki, Adam, and Jeff. I'm sorry, Rocket Raccoon. But even then, low-key players often actually use their ultimate to copy one of the standard healer ultimates because they're just that good. Adam actually stands out the most with its ability to actually revive allies, and it creates kind of like this sort of unique gameplay impact. However, whether it's stronger than the others is really debatable. I honestly think that Adam's ultimate is actually on the weaker side, at least in solo queue when compared to all of these 4 ultimates. Obviously, like if you're really good with Adam, you're going to take advantage advantage of your ultimate a lot better, especially if your team are people that actually communicate with each other even better, right? I honestly think that the only way to fix these 4 ultimates is to just do a full rework on them, which is probably extremely controversial. But I do think that in the long run, it could definitely benefit the game, especially on a strategic depth side, and also to make these characters feel a lot more unique to each other. And look, I made some quick thoughts about like what would be my way to do these ultimates, okay? But like, I'm not necessarily agreeing with them. I'm just saying like, hey, here's like an alternative solution, like a quick one, okay? So for example, Luna is all about music and, you know, frost abilities. So maybe instead of having a healing area of effect, you could actually still have this massive burst of healing, but instead of a circle, it would actually be a line. A line that every 2 seconds restores a significant portion of health. On top of that, it could actually slow enemies down, creating a frost zone that reduces movement speed for a short duration. Invisible Woman, for example, is a character that focuses heavily on shields and invisibility and psionic bursts. So maybe her ultimate could actually be a massive sphere that blocks all incoming projectiles from enemies. It could probably last like 8 seconds, and it also grants invisibility to everyone that is inside it. But on top of that, it actually traps enemies inside the ball. So once you're inside, you cannot leave, and if enemies are outside that sphere, they cannot get in. Maybe that's a little bit too OP, I don't know. Mantis is a character that is all about buffing your attack, but also mind control. So why not literally give her the ability of mind controlling an enemy for, let's say, 6 seconds? And while controlling an enemy, Mantis becomes exposed but gains a shield for her own protection. And yes, I would probably disable the ultimate from an enemy if it's available, because having this ability is probably already a bit too OP. Being able to actually use the ultimate of an enemy would be insane. Cloak and Dagger. I'm honestly not entirely sure with Cloak and Dagger. I think most people will disagree with me on this, but I think Cloak and Dagger, at least in solo queue, is a really strong character. Her kit is insanely strong already, and her ultimate kind of suffered a big nerf, and you can kind of feel it. So I guess I'll just, you know, she can keep her ult as it is, I guess. Obviously, there are other issues right now playing the game, which is how the ranking distribution right now is set in the game. I did go and check other video games just to see how they do the rank distribution right now, and at least according to this website, Counter-Strike actually has this very, very nice curve with most of the players sitting at gold and high silver. Valorant kind of follows the same suit, you know, a very nicely curved here with most players in silver and gold. I did find this very curious. League of Legends, at least according to this website, does have a distribution that feels somewhat similar to what Marvel Rivals is trying to achieve. League of Legends is achieving it a lot better, which is a pretty flat distribution across like 4 of the first ranks and then a very nice curve. So essentially what they're doing here is giving you a very nice sense of progression, but then the game really starts potentially in the higher ranks of gold all the way to whatever this is, I don't remember the name. That line only really starts in Grandmaster, which is crazy. Like, it should potentially start, you know, at the bare minimum from Plat, right? And go all the way down like this. But at the end of the day, I think NetEase knows exactly what it's doing. It's trying to push people into the game and play the game a lot, and so they're making your progression all the way to Grandmaster feel rewarding so that you can continuously play the game. I think they will probably rework this at some point for sure, because I think they know exactly what they're doing. There's also some other issues that I do think are minor, but you know, there's definitely some rebalances here and there that need to be made, especially on the comp side. Like Neymar and Luna are just bonkers together, especially Neymar. The amount of damage Neymar is giving right now is crazy. There's also a lot of matchmaking issues right now. A lot of the games either feel like you're just steamrolling everyone, or it feels like you're being completely bombarded and destroyed, and you're not exactly sure why. Like, the duality is crazy. And another one that I feel like a lot of people don't really talk about, which is quick play. Quick play right now is, in my view, unplayable, because it feels like it doesn't have any sort of matchmaking or anything along those lines. So you will basically get matched with whatever, with whoever is on, like literally. And a lot of the times you get into a game that is like almost ending and it doesn't even make any sense. What I'm trying to say is that I feel like this game really needs right now an unranked mode. A mode that you can basically play as a, as rank mode would work without having to go to quick play where everything feels kind of weird and dumb and stupid. I don't know, quick play just feels completely dumb right now. Regardless of all of these issues, I really do believe, and no, I am not being sponsored by Marvel Rivals. I do believe that this is probably one of the best free-to-play games you can play. The quality of this game, especially on an art direction point for the characters, is like sublime. The game is fun. It feels nice to play. I'm only really making this video because I actually want this game to succeed. I honestly think that Marvel Rivals is a great standard for what a free-to-play game should look like in general, which is a game that offers you all of the characters for free. You essentially don't need to actually put money in the game to just play it. And for the most part, if you actually want to put money in the game, it's mostly for cosmetics and skins. Especially on the video game landscape right now, it's pretty refreshing to see.